Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the TEQ Cooler unit. So we're going to be taking a look at TEQ Cooler and we're going to see just how good he is as a free-to-play option. Now obviously guys, TEQ Cooler is he was a pretty solid unit beforehand, at least for me personally. I found him to be relatively solid, and I actually found him to be pretty useful as a unit. I think overall he was very solid back in the day. I used him for a couple challenges in the LGE, so I think his upgrade is possibly the most simple yet the most effective one, at least for me on the surface of things. He is a Terrifying Conqueror's category key +3 and HP attack and defense lead of 77%. He raises defense for one turn, he raises defense permanently and causes supreme damage to the enemy and greatly lowers attack. He has attack of 150% and defense of 100%, with an additional defense of 20% up to 50% with each super attack performed. He has Terrifying Conqueror's category allies key +3 and attack and defense of 30%, and Terrifying Conqueror's category allies get a chance of performing a critical hit of +7% for 3 turns after the character receives an attack 5 or more times in battle. So that's pretty interesting. Obviously guys, he's very much designed to kind of go with the additional build, but a bit of crits also not too bad on this guy. He's not going to be stacking super duper quickly. Basically after you get that 50%, he'll be stacking at a decent clip. His biggest strength is the fact that he's a good support for the Terrifying Conqueror's category, which is a category that has plenty of key hungry LRs. If you look at units like AGL Full Power Freezer, him getting his 18 key is very imperative, so having a 3 key support is very good. In terms of links, he has Strongest Clan in Space, Thirst for Conquest, Cold Judgment, Brutal Beatdown, Nightmare, Metamorphosis, and Shattering the Limit. The Cold Judgment is probably the hardest link to get there, but we'll take a look. So here we've got him in a pretty good turn. He's linked up with the AGL Cooler. Not a great unit to have him linked up with because he's not really that viable. Defense wise, he's looking pretty solid. Nothing too crazy, but you have to also factor in that he is supplementing the rest of the rotation. He'll also increase this amount quite a bit based on his next turn, so we should be seeing a pretty good performance from him. Obviously AGL Cooler is not the world's greatest unit, at least right now, but you can see 2 million on the attack stat, which is pretty good. Not to mention we gain quite a bit from link leveling. So obviously Metamorphosis, we gain attack and defense. Thirst for Conquest, we gain defense. Strongest Clan in Space, we don't gain too much. Nightmare, we gain attack. Brutal Beatdown, we gain attack. Shattering the Limit, attack and defense. And Cold Judgment, you gain some extra defense. So you do have the capacity to increase that 2 million. Cooler's not really there to be a hard-hitting unit. 2 million is, I don't want to say the highlight or the highest. You could definitely throw in another support. You could link level him, you could throw in attacking equipment, and you could probably push him up quite a decent amount. But I don't think he's really there for his offense. What you're really there for is to obviously gain some significant defensive coverage from a stacking unit, and also the utility that he brings in the form of his support. You can see here 186,000. This is obviously now with additional support on the rotation, but he does look really solid here. You can see how quickly that defense can ramp up. The combination of his defensive stacking and his overall defense, pretty decent, I would say. So we're not going to see the craziest attack stat. I think we're going to see around 2.3 million, which is obviously very solid. But at that point, his defense would have been well over the 200,000 mark. We're probably looking at close to the 250 mark, and so he would have been pretty good with an additional 10% to go from his passive, alongside the fact that he could continue to stack on his super attack. He's a very decent long form event option. Now he will take a little bit to ramp up in terms of red zone capabilities, and yes, it's viable, but he does take quite a while to ramp up. You know, to get to the 300, 400 Ks, you're probably looking at 5, 6, maybe 7 super attacks, especially without Cold Judgment active, which is a link you're not going to get very often on the Terrifying Conquerors team. But as a unit, that's going to be helpful for events like the LVE, or LGE, LGETE, plenty of long form events, Infinite Dragon Ball history. There's tons of great events where Cooler is going to be useful and where you are going to be able to have a pretty decent time. So yeah, I think overall, if you are interested in Awakening Cooler, is he worth it? Well, I think he is. I think as a support for Terrifying Conquerors, as his viability as a unit, just in general, his overall performance, I think is very, very good. I think Cooler is an exceptional unit, and I think he brings a lot of utility to the table. And I think that utility cannot be discounted. I think it really helps out, especially on such a key hungry team. You look, LR Cooler's not, but freezers, all the freezers need key to really get going, especially the first couple turns. Those 18 keys, those crucial first 2 super attacks, those first 2 18 keys are a huge difference into how Freezer does later on in the event. So I think it's good. The only shame, technically speaking, is that he doesn't have big bad bosses as a link. I think that's the biggest shame for me, at least as a unit. So yeah, in terms of his overall link set, he's got Strongest Clan in Space, Thirst for Conquest, Cold Judgment, Brutal Beatdown, Nightmare, Metamorphosis, Shattering the Limit. Obviously, he gains a lot from all of these links. They're not bad links. Metamorphosis, he gains a lot. You gain a lot from Thirst for Conquest, which are very common links that he shares with a lot of units. You can look at Tech Freezer, you can look at Strength LR Cooler. He shares a lot of these links with them, and these are powerful links. He would gain 25% defense from them, which is good. Strongest Clan in Space, he also has, which is a great key link. But generally speaking, his biggest issue is he's not going to be able to get Cold Judgment. Now, you don't need Cold Judgment to make this guy a good unit, but it is something that if you removed from our showcase here, would knock down his defense quite a bit. From the 186 you saw, you're probably looking at it dropping down to 174, 172. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it can add up, and it is just important to note. It's very similar to something like All in the Family, which is a link that really helps out Goku's family units, but is uncommon on some of the bigger teams. And it's the same with this Cooler. Like, he's got Cold Judgment, which is great, but realistically, the amount of units you're going to want to stick on Terrifying Conquerors that have Cold Judgment is going to be very slim. So for me, he looks pretty good. That's really the only shame. If they'd replaced Cold Judgment with Big Bad Bosses, I think he would have been perfect as a support, because that would have been huge for him to have Big Bad Bosses. But it's not really the end of the world. I think overall he's very good. I like what he brings to the table, and personally I really like that he brings support. I think the fact that he brings support is just going to mean that he's a nice unit. If you are someone who's trying to build a Terrifying Conquerors team and maybe you're lacking a bit of synergy right now, Cooler can bring that synergy. But that's going to be it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on Cooler down below, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.